It's Monday noon, the time is here. Shane and I'll be loud and clear. Pacific vibes, we bring the heat. AI agents can't be beat. AI agents now, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Solving problems, we do it live. Stay informed, it's a vibe. Building agents that work for you. Making moves, we see it through. Every week, a brand new show. Tag along and watch your knowledge grow. AI agents out, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Answering questions, we arrive. Every Monday, come alive. We want reviews, but only if it's a 5. We share the drama, we got the drive. Stay in the loop, it's the place to be. Shane and I'll be setting you free. Agents out, we're here to stay. Tune in Mondays, make your day. From the news to the problem solved. AI world, get involved.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to AI Agents Hour. I'm Shane. I'm here with Avi,
What up?
and we're going to be doing what we do every week. It is Monday, which is the first time we've actually streamed on a Monday for what seems like maybe all of this year.
Yeah, it's been really busy, so
Yeah, but we try to do this every Monday, usually around noon. We're coming a little later today. I was traveling on a flight to get here in person so we can do this and for other reasons. But excited to cover all the same stuff we do every week. We cover the AI news. We're going to go deep into a couple different like blog posts and papers. So we're going to really learn some AI knowledge today for those of you wanting to, get smarter like us. And, we're going to cover a little bit about the Mastra 1.0 launch last week too, because that was pretty cool. Before we do get started, if this is the first time you've watched this, just know that today is going to be a little rough around the edges because we're trying a new streaming platform, and that probably means there's going to be a few hiccups, but we're going to figure it out this week, and next week we'll have it down and things should be hopefully a little bit more back to normal.
And if you all notice, we have this really cool microphone that's green. And if I do this, and we're back.
So yeah, we're having fun. We're gonna do our thing, but we are working. I think for those that have been following the show for a long time, we have a producer now. He's probably in my ear. He's like my little Jiminy Cricket. He tells us now when things are not working, and so we're trying to make it better. And it's gonna be more polished coming forward a bit more. And yeah, apparently
That's cool. I like the way that looks.
yeah, Alex is here. Yeah, it's a little different of a bit of a stream differences, but we'll figure it out. So where do we want to start today?
Well, since we've been in SF a lot, especially you have been in SF. One thing, for those watching, when you're in SF, you get sometimes, and if you're doing what we're doing, you sometimes get invited to dinner parties where a lot of great conversations happen. It's kind of where the sausage and the drama and all the people talk tea and stuff. I was invited, but I had to deal with some family stuff. But Shane and Sam went, so I think that's a good place to just start a recap.
Yeah, I only got the invite because Abby couldn't make it, so I got his spot. But yeah, it was a combination of founders, some kind of leaders at some larger tech organizations in different roles, and as you'd expect at a kind of a tech founders based dinner in SF, it was basically a way to talk just AI. That was the whole topic. So there's a lot of really cool takeaways. A lot of people just sharing what's working for them and their teams. And it's interesting to hear teams of different sizes going through a lot of the same things, but in slightly different ways. One thing that I thought was pretty interesting was that there was someone that was kind of in leadership at a larger, 10 plus $1 billion tech startup. So, pretty large, obviously, at that point. Maybe not even called a startup at that point, but they are requiring all their engineers to use open code. So they've basically said, you no longer get a choice of what editor to use. You're going to use this. And I think that's common with really large companies, but it seems less common for tech companies. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think every team is trying to figure out what their competitive edge is with the tools. And so if everyone's working in open code and doing the same thing, everyone's learning the same tool, coming up with the same tips and tricks. We're doing something similar right now at Mastra, but we don't care what code editor you use because we don't think it's about the editor. It's about how to do stuff, how you're using the tools. But we do require everyone to use the tools, though. So a tool.
Yeah, and that led to another interesting topic, which was who's going to make it in this new world. If we have, AI, if we have LLMs and coding agents that are writing our code for us, who's going to be the ones that what skills are going to be the most valuable? And so we had two people with completely different skill sets try to make the claim that their skills were going to be more valuable. And it was funny because it was just like a lesson in self-preservation. It was a coping mechanism, I think, because I think we all do it, right? We think we have all this gained experience. We're probably going to be okay. It's going to be us that comes out ahead. So we had, person A was a really deeply technical person. He was talking about understanding operating systems and how they're built, and very technical, right? A very, very good engineer. But, had made the claim that Ralph was interesting, things like this iterative loops, if you're familiar with Ralph Wiggum, which we talked about on the show. But it's good for prototypes, but if you need a real dedicated, detail-oriented person that has these deep technical skills to really still ship software, at least software that's going to be used by lots of people. And then you had, person B was more of a product-minded person, was a CEO of a startup with, I think there were maybe 40, 50 people. And his argument was that now he basically, he is kind of an engineer. He hasn't wrote a code for very long or for a long time, but now he's writing code again. And so he's kind of YOLOing prototypes to his team and saying we need to build this. And he said, if you have the product taste, that's what's going to matter, because the code eventually will, be good enough. And I guess, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I think that's such an interesting debate, because it is such a self-preservation thing, because no one wants to feel like they have a sunk cost in all the experience and work they've put in thus far. I feel like we're kind of, I would say I'm in the middle of both of them, and say you need to have a product mind to really use these tools well, but to cover your ass, you're also going to need to have some engineering chops. But maybe that doesn't matter, and you can just iterate yourself to victory, right? Maybe people are okay with a certain level of quality in the beginning, and you can just iterate there. I have an idea of who these two people were too, so it's really funny. But yeah.
It's also funny because there was one person there who said, basically iterate their way just through sheer persistence. They weren't necessarily, maybe they're an engineer, but they didn't describe themselves as an engineer. And so they basically said they would just pound the keyboard and pound Claude until it finally got to where it needed to be, which you could do. Honestly, I think they're both right, because I think it just depends on what you need. You need both those people.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you'll need slightly less of certain types on the edges, but you still, there's always this joke about I don't remember what the analogy is, but there's some broken piece of equipment. They can't fix it. They hire in all these different people, and they finally hire that one guy who comes in and hits the hammer on the thing at just the right spot, and it all works, and then charges some obscene amount of money because he knew exactly where to hit the hammer. So you're going to still need these people that can probably go in and, dig into the details of things and actually really understand how it works, because it's going to be, that skill is going to go away more with time. So if you actually have those skills, you're probably going to become more valuable because less people will have them, but there's probably less of a need for those skills most of the time.
Yeah.
So I think both are probably right to some extent.
You also have to have like, let's say you're building a product. In the person B's case, they're a product-minded person, and it really depends on what kind of product you're trying to build. Because if you're building an engineering product, your product taste is actually engineering skill related taste. So maybe both these people are saying the same thing, right? Essentially. Like if your product is building Kubernetes and you're just a product dude, and you could iterate all you'd like, I think, but eventually you're going to need someone with engineering taste to check your work. And especially if you're building something completely new, it's easy to one-shot things that already exist. Like I rebuilt GitHub, okay? So like it's not that. It's like net new things may need certain tastes and skills.
And then there's some other actionable like takeaways. Someone made the comment that if you're running evals, you should just run the same evals on 3 different temperatures, compare the results. That's a good way to get better eval results. I thought that was interesting. We're going to play around with that a little bit. There's real discussions around how to handle engineers on your team who are completely against using these tools. And in one case, the person said, the funny thing is the engineers are still, like, there's a few of them that are still as good because they're just really good engineers. But most are not. Most are falling behind. And, so it's just kind of interesting. I think it's just if there's new tools, I would just recommend you should spend time learning them, and maybe you should try to push the edges and see what's possible, but then try to figure out like what's practical, because I think that line is moving quite frequently. And the last comment is someone made the comment, actually Sam made the comment that coding agents are kind of like video games now. You get that like dopamine hit when it does something you want it to do. And then someone else says, no, they're actually kind of more like slot machines. You don't know what you're going to get. And my take is I think it's kind of like playing poker. It's like if you're not good at poker, you will get people run the table on you if you don't know how to play, because there is a lot of skill involved, but there still is a bit of luck. It's still not deterministic, and you're not going to win every hand. You might win in the long run if you know what you're doing, but I think that's also why it's a little bit addicting. So if you are playing with these tools and you're having it build stuff, I feel like I want to be building stuff all the time. Like, as soon as I'm down here, if I didn't have a meeting right after this, I would want to go build more stuff.
Dude, I'm running some loops right now.
Exactly. Exactly. Like if my computer wasn't taken with this, doing the show, I'd probably be running I was on the plane, like spinning up loops. So anyways, yeah, that was a fun dinner. It's always good to talk to people that are, kind of talk shop with people that are, I would say, ahead of most teams as far as like their adoption. And even honestly, some of what we're doing, like it pushed us to think, is there more that's possible that we're not yet doing today? So Conebrink says, is Mastra making me a millionaire indirectly?
Some could say.
Yeah.
I think the poker is like a really good. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's a skill and luck. Because while they were at the dinner, I did what I think is going to be a common occurrence now, where I went back to Los Angeles, visited some old friends who are engineers, and we had a modern day LAN party where we didn't come to the hangout. We had a bunch of wine and beer, and we came to the hangout and with no ideas. We just sat around the table, kind of like playing poker, right? And we were just wondering, what do you guys want to build? Who wants to build something? And for us, it was really nice for me to teach them what we're learning up here in SF and like talking with everybody. So I went through these like Ralph Wiggum concepts, etc. And boom, we just started making things. And then you start having fun. You're editing things. What features can we add? And we built this thing called Exhibit, which is like a 3D modeling. You can generate 3D models, which we knew nothing about 3D models. That's another fun thing. You kind of learn shit along the way. And then you can have an AI agent that like changes the color of the wheels or the color. And that's because it was naturally, my friend was like, man, I really want to buy a Porsche one day. And I was like, oh, maybe we should build something around that. And then it was like a modern day LAN party. Like we were all just on our computers, like looking up how GTLF works and like, is it really easy to use Blender or not? And all these questions come. And then once the session was over and we all went home, we didn't even think about the project anymore. It was just literally like playing video games or having fun with your friends, and then you dipped.
Yeah, I saw the demo though. It was pretty cool.
Pretty sick.
I mean, you could change the wheel color, you could change the paint job, you could change the features of the car, and it would just 3D model it. You could spin it around and see it. It was a very, you know, it's amazing what you can do in one day
Yeah.
with just sitting around, that table. Before we jump into kind of the first big section, I guess we should maybe recap the Mastra 1.0.
Yeah.
So for those of you that didn't know, Mastra went 1.0 last week. It was a great launch. We were on the front page of Hacker News for a while. That was cool. We were on the front page. We were the third product on Product Hunt, I guess, of the day, and we're like the top 4 or top 5 of the week on Product Hunt. So that was awesome. A lot of people just reaching out, supporting, and sharing the word. So appreciate you all who helped kind of amplify the message that real teams are shipping in production with Mastra today, and that was kind of a nice capstone to say like, hey, we are actually 1.0. So appreciate everyone for helping make that all possible.
Yeah, we got like 1,000 stars since we started the launch. I think we're at 20,500 now.
Yeah, we're on
So
GitHub.
thank you.
We're on GitHub trending for a day. So yeah, appreciate all the help and the support of the show. We do get quite a few messages from people that watch the show. It just started as 2 dudes, and we had other people on the team that come on every once in a while, but we didn't really know what this was going to be, and now we're getting close to a year in on it. Not quite, but over 50 episodes, and yeah, we're excited. That's why we're putting a little more into the production value, because a lot of you keep sharing how much you learn from it, or all the things that you've kind of like. Sometimes you'll like the inside jokes. The most fun for me is when someone posts an inside joke on like social, or like sends it to me DMs or something like that you'd have to like a deep cut from the show. Yeah, I knew you had to watch it to actually catch that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, like I got a message from someone. This is kind of random, but I got a message from someone saying, "Hey, that time you said that it's not like picking up people from Home Depot," which I wasn't. Well, I shouldn't have said that again, but I said it now. But it's just stuff like that where people like grab onto these things that we're saying. We're having a lot of fun doing this stuff too, which is great.
Yeah.
Should we show the video, the recap, Mastra
Yeah.
1.0 recap?
So yeah, we had someone on our team, Grayson, and this is just. We also like to just highlight what you can do with AI, because
This is dope.
yeah, it's really cool. I'm going to figure out how to actually share a screen here for the first time on this new streaming platform. Okay. Share audio.
Today, Mastra unveils its long-awaited 1.0 release, the result of months of production, testing, and steady refinement. Since the first beta in November, hundreds of teams have put Mastra to work, offering feedback that led to nearly 100 improvements and several major additions, including server adapters, composite storage, upgraded workflows, and full support for the latest AI SDK. With contributions from a dedicated engineering team and an active open source community, this release focuses on clarity, stability, and simpler deployment. Across the industry, Mastra is already powering an app chat, developer tools, enterprise search, and automated internal systems. Mastra 1.0 arrives as a polished, confident next generation of agent applications, ready for service.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah. Grayson, you cooked.
So should we tell people how it was built?
Yeah, so if you thought that was pretty cool, let's talk through how you could maybe build something kind of like that.
So it all starts with the music, right? So we use Suno, and Grayson took some of our announcement content,
I think the blog post.
and then he made it he actually did multiple variants. At one point we had Boys to Men style. That was my favorite one. It was sick, but it was a little too, R&B slow jam vibe. Then we had this like old school, like 1950 type song. Then he went to VO3 and took the same strategy where you're kind of making video based on that. And he ran out of credits a couple times because it takes a lot of credits to
Yeah.
make a long feature film.
Yeah,
thing.
short clips at a time, and trying to get the consistency is tough.
Yeah.
I think he might have used, was it Midjourney, or maybe I think it was Midjourney to do the images, but
Mm.
you could use Nano Banana or something to
Yeah.
generate the image, and then I think VO3 to take the image and turn it into movement.
Yeah. And then put it all together, and it looks super cool. And at the same time, a lot of us were, I think maybe it was some people's first time using Suno at the company. So we were all sharing different songs and
If you haven't used Suno, here's what, and you have, like a company Slack, and you have people that are kind of interested in AI stuff, you should do a Suno battle. So
Yeah.
what is a Suno battle? Someone starts it, kicks it off, kind of like a rap battle. But instead of, what you're doing is you're going to make a song about the company or a product or something, and it's just going to be funny. It's very entertaining. It's kind of like a one and done. We'll probably never listen to most of those songs again.
yeah.
But it definitely got, I mean, there was people from all over the team. Like, I bet we had 10 different people or 8 different people that were like interested. They were listening to it. They were creating their own. And it was just, we didn't vote on it or anything, but then Grayson saw what we were doing and he took it to the next level.
Yeah, he won.
Yeah, he won, obviously. Like, we just were doing songs, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a whole feature music video for this." But yeah, if you're looking for something fun to do, team building exercise, do a Suno battle on some kind of topic, and just see you'll kind of get an idea of what kind of music people like too.
Yeah.
I guess that's what Grayson's into, that kind of music. I don't know.
The Frank Sinatra style. Shane has like the rock style down. I do
Yeah.
like R&B, pop, hip hop, pop, and then what was it? Then we had a screamo song or a little.
Yeah.
That was sick.
It was like a Limp Bizkit style screamo. Yeah, before we jump into the next segment here, there was just one tweet I saw that I just wanted to bring up on this because I thought it was very impressive. Apparently, OpenAI was handling 800 million users with one Postgres primary and a bunch of read replicas. That's pretty impressive. Maybe Postgres is all you need. Because I know we don't have 800 million users. We could probably get by with just Postgres. I don't know.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we're barely trying to scale 2 replicas, right? Like these guys are doing next level stuff.
Yeah, I just thought it was wild. And I think they're going off of it now. Maybe they finally hit the scale. At 800 million users, they finally hit the scale.
They're
of
definitely not using
Postgres.
Supabase, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think they're a little past that.
Mhm.
But it works for us. All right, so we did want to go a little deeper into some various topics. So we wanted to start a segment that we do every once in a while called Today I Learned. Shout out to Alex if you're watching this. I think you maybe came up with the name of this, but we've done it before on this show where we go a little bit deeper on whether it's a paper, a blog post, and we won't go too deep. We'll kind of give you like the high level, and then of course look it up if it's interesting to you. Dig in a bit more, and that way, the goal is like how do you learn some new stuff pretty quickly, and then if it is of interest to you, you can kind of dive in and go deeper. I'm not going to say that we are the experts on all this stuff. We read it, we digest a lot of information, we try to piece it together, and we'll try to explain it to you the best we can. But we'll probably get some things wrong here and there. So if you have opinions, share them in the chat. This is a live show. And the first one is this paper it's called Training Free GRPO. So this first came about from a post I saw on X.
It's from Tencent is the company, I believe, and they just raised a really big Series E, I think, round, or was it them? I don't know, but
Yeah, so it basically said Tencent just killed fine-tuning an RL with the $18 budget.
which is bold.
They developed a method that replaces traditional reinforcement learning entirely. Maybe we'll bring Professor Andy on here at some point, and I'm sure he can refute this. But it has a link to the paper. So maybe,
We'll go again. I guess I can go deep into it now. So yeah, this might be a little soapboxy because in TIL I had to go learn what this paper was, and I wanted to understand it like I'm not a person who does ML or anything. So Professor Andy probably knows this stuff, but I wanted to explain it to y'all like we were all just in 5th grade, you know. So I did somewhat that, but I need to explain some concepts first. So training free GRPO, the first thing I need to ask is what the hell is GRPO? GRPO stands for Group Relative Policy Optimization, which once again, what the fuck does that mean? I don't know. But how it works and then makes it, which makes you kind of get more understanding is you have what's called a reward function. And that is essentially a function that in a test that, sorry, let me take a step back. Let's say you have a bunch of AI agents and you want to like train them to do mathematics. You're going to give them a question and answer, like a question sheet, like all solving math problems, like taking a test. And so you get a reward function here is if you get the answer right, it's a 1. And if you get it wrong, it's a 0. And so you're generating multiple answers onto the same question. And then you're, essentially comparing all the answers as a group, right? That's why it's called group relative policy, because you're kind of analyzing all the work that has been done across the agents on the different problems. And then you're going to then get what's called an advantage. You have a score and an average score, and then you also taking into account standard deviations. So how this works normally, let's say you have like a really smart robot. Let's say you have a really smart robot, like, the guy from iRobot or something. And to teach it math normally, you would have to open its, like its head or something and like, tweak the circuits and inject all this math stuff into it so then it can do that. And that'll cost you money, right? Because you have to change the hardware. You got to go in, change the software too, and maybe cost you $10,000. So now let's talk about the cheap way, which is training free. So instead of this, what you do is you give each robot a notebook, and every answer it gets wrong, it says, oh, I got answer 3 wrong because of this reason, this reason, this reason. I got this one wrong because of this reason. So you're holding on to observations about what had happened in that run. And so the next time it executes the same flow, it does not actually need the training again. It wrote it down like, hey, I got problem 3 wrong last time because of these 3 reasons. This time I'm not going to get it wrong because I have my notes from last time. So effectively, because you're collecting observations, and I'm saying this with a certain twang to it because it'll mean something in 2 weeks from now, because you have observations, the robot's brain stays the same, right? It doesn't need to be like enhanced. It just has a notebook of freaking notes that it wrote down to help it the next time. Almost like an open book test, or you retaking a final, but you already had all the answers, so the second time. And so this training run for them cost $18 as opposed to the previous training run cost $10,000. So this little trick with the notebook here helped. And so traditional RL, you give a score like 8 out of 10, 3 out of 10, and you're trying to find something that's better than the average, right? Like who's better than the average? Like I'm gonna go with the dude who got 9 out of 10. Cool. But training free, you give all robots the same problem side by side, and then you ask them like, why did attempt number 3 succeed while attempt number 2 failed? And the robot writes down, I keep saying robot here, but you understand. The robot writes down the lesson in plain English. Like, so then you can ask them like, hey, when you find the answers, you can check if they actually fit in this range before picking one. So the training happens from the agent itself. Like it is every training run you do, you're writing down notes and then you're learning from that. So yeah. And then the last thing here about the money, 10K versus 18 bucks. The way to explain it this Eli 5 style is option A, like the expensive one, is you bought a calculator for $10,000 and it only works for math homework. If you need it for science, you have to buy another calculator for $10,000 and you have to store them and keep them plugged. So you're paying electricity on these different calculators. But with training-free GRPO, you just rent a super calculator for 2 cents or something, or $1 an hour, and you can rent them from a company that has 1,000 free or calculators for you to use. But because the way it's doing training here, you can use it for math, science, history, whatever, because it just needs to have a notebook to, like, just like we're in school, you have a notebook for history lesson and this, it's the same kind of concept. So yeah, renting wins if you're in this model. So you don't have to pay for infrastructure only when you're training, and then you can keep the observations for the next training run, and now you saved yourself $10,000. So that's what training-free GRPO is. Today I learned.
All right. I feel a little smarter. So now I wanted to bring something to the table. So I read this blog post by Replit, and I'm going to share the original post that I saw, and then I'll also share the actual blog post itself, and we'll kind of go through it. All right, so originally I saw this from Zen the Builder, and it's called Decision Time Guidance. So they discuss how applying control at decision time moves beyond front-loaded rules and repeated reminders. So if we actually go to the blog post itself, we can see a little bit more details around what it entails. And it's really, so this is interesting if you think of, if you ever have written in your system prompt or your rules in your prompt itself, don't do this, avoid these things, make sure you do this, like those strong rules. And then sometimes you get like, you add all caps because it didn't listen to the rule, because you had all this extra context and it was at the front, and it didn't decide to follow that rule for some reason some of the time. And so what they did is they basically came to this thing called decision time guidance. And it's how they keep Replit agent reliable across these long runs. Because if you're familiar with how Replit works, you know that it can run for a long time. That's like one of Replit's big things, is that it can go for sometimes, if you turn it on, I don't know what it's called, but you turn on the max mode, it'll go for like an hour, And so what innovations do they come up with to try to make this actually work better? So you can see the problem. They have static prompts on long trajectories. And so if you think about it, as the context grows, you might overwrite your previous rules. Now, like, I know that models typically like value the beginning and the end, and sometimes the middle is a little lossy, but you can also think that as it reads it, if you think about how you would read it, you might read something and then it tells you to do something that's in conflict with what you had higher up. And so which one do you choose? Sometimes you might get it right, sometimes you might get it wrong. So you kind of think of this in this, if you look at this kind of here on the right, you have the system prompt, user prompt, it does some tool call and a result. And then there's this thing of like reminders that kind of get inserted in after the tool call to say like, hey, remember not to say these words, or remember not, for me, it's like, remember to run the type checks afterwards, or run the tests. Sometimes even though I told it to, in my claw.md file, sometimes it forgets. Why didn't you run the test? But so the problem is like decision time guidance is a little bit better because it doesn't just shove the whole list of reminders, right? If you think about it, if you have a large system prompt, you might have 100 things that you want this thing to remember at all times. It's like, always do these things. But the benefit of decision time guidance is it basically uses like a classifier that will then decide based on what's gone on so far in the prompt, which rules to inject. So it doesn't inject everything, doesn't inject all the reminders. Basically at decision time, it'll only pull in the ones that might be useful based on what you're actually trying to do. So it's a little more dynamic. And they had some statistics in here somewhere around how it increased accuracy. Um, so it doesn't affect caching. Yeah, there's some numbers in here around how it just moving the reminders and then also then like using some kind of classifier or some kind of lightweight agent to decide which reminders to inject does just make it better. So if you're interested, read the blog post as you're building your own agents. Something like this might be useful. I think
Yeah.
there's multiple ways to do it. We've been talking a lot about observations. That's maybe another method to do something similar because it's more context dense, and we'll talk more about that in the near future. But there are many approaches to this, and I thought this was an interesting approach.
The vibe here is like trying to make sure you're always cacheable. Even with observations or anything, you want to make sure that things that have happened are cacheable. So you don't have to be paying like input tokens for those. And then this decision time thing is cool because like reminders they're not like a world model or anything. Like it's more of a suggestion than anything, and like LLMs are highly suggestible. You know what I mean? Like if you like start suggesting things a certain way, it'll just believe you. So awesome work from Replit. I also saw our homie Nick on that blog post. Nick, what's his last name? I forgot, but the homie, and then I think Zen too. So shout out to the homies.
Yeah. So check it out. We had more. We had one other today I learned, but we're gonna bypass that. Maybe we'll have time for it next week, just because we have a lot of news and we are running short on time. So let's go ahead and jump into the news today.
If you liked the Today I Learned segment, let's give us some feedback. You can hit us up on Twitter or in the show right now, chat.
Yeah, this is a live show. Before we move on to the next segment, if this is your first time watching, thanks for watching AI Agents Hour. Make sure to go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us a review. Even more important, if you have not subscribed on YouTube, please go there right now. We really appreciate it. Even if you're watching this on X, if you're watching this on LinkedIn or wherever else you might be finding it, just go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button. That helps us out, helps more people find out about the show. Now, let's get into, I'm going to be honest, this is always my favorite segment because we get to talk a little bit about the drama. We get to talk about what's going on, and there's always something going on. So let's talk about the news. If we talked a little bit about this last week, but it is all over the place. We got to talk about ClawdBot.
Yeah, it went viral. More than viral now. I think it's the phenomenon, I would say.
It has definitely had its moment. So what is ClawdBot? Can you give me the TLDR?
ClawdBot is like it's like truly a personal assistant. It can have access to your files. It has a bunch of cool tooling involved. It can search the web, etc. You typically can deploy this to AWS, like just an AWS deployment. But what's happened, and this is where the meme of it all comes, like people started making like Tamagotchis with their ClawdBot. So that's like running it with a display interface. So you can see the little crab dude. And then I also didn't realize the Claude thing was a crab, but I guess, ClawdBot is, which now makes me look at the Claude thing as a crab too. But then what really happened got even wilder. People started memeing that I'm going to buy a Mac Mini and I'm just going to have this dedicated Mac Mini for my ClawdBot, and it'll just, have access to the whole computer and the whole power of the file system, et cetera, et cetera. And honestly, Mac Mini sales probably went up this weekend, I would bet. It was like $500 for a Mac Mini, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's just like a personal AI assistant. We've built so many of them at Mastra. It does like your inbox cleaning. It can send emails. It can check your calendar, book flights for you. It can do everything because it has full access to the machine it's running on, and a lot of integrations and such. So
yeah, and so there's this video that came out, and it's pretty good. I've watched a lot of it. Alex argues why you should buy a Mac Mini. He just thinks it's fun to have a separate device that you refer to as your agent. It's kind of overkill. You don't need it. But then everyone was putting it on VPSs for $1 a month or $3 a month and running it on their own, which we'll talk about that because there's maybe some risks involved there. Yeah. But if you are interested, it's just claude.bot. And
I believe Ali also interviewed the creator of ClawdBot. I think his name is Peter Steinberger, about the security implications of having something like this, as well as like the concept of like, people are putting this on Mac Minis because they think it's like has a soul. And that device, that standard device is like, that's it. It's thing very much like a Tamagotchi from back in the day.
Yeah, I think the reason that this is different than just, so I built a agent that will label my emails for me, right? And sometimes I run it, sometimes I don't, but I am manually saying like, go do this with that agent. This is different because this will actually start proposing things for you. So if you watch the video, he basically said that after a couple days, it started proposing new video ideas or like editing ideas or things that because he knew that every week at a certain time he would do these videos, and so it would come prepared, almost like an actual smart assistant would kind of learn your routines. If you talk to it enough, it would know when it should kind of interject and maybe offer things for you to actually like do and like try to help you out. So it is kind of interesting in that regard. I don't think it's overly that complicated to build something like this. We should probably build like a ClawdBot Mastra template or something. But I think the execution was really well done.
Yeah.
Because it obviously like took the internet by storm because people are seeing, okay, this is actually more autonomous than anything I've ever seen before.
And it bridges the gap. It bridges the gap to reality, right? Because we're all working on like stuff, but with ClawdBot, you can control your 8-sleep mattress. You could do Philips Hue smart lighting and home assistants, and then all these integrations that are making it feel like what a personal assistant would be capable of doing, which you can build all this stuff yourself, right? It's not like ClawdBot is the only way to do this. It's just someone with taste, an engineer with product taste and engineering skill, put both of those things together and built ClawdBot. So really awesome project. I think it blew up on, is it on GitHub? Let's look. How many stars?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's on GitHub. I thought we should try to find it. But while you're doing that, one thing that I saw, and I don't have this post handy, I forgot to link it, but there was a post around, there were 900 or maybe it's 90 different people that have hosted Claude bots on VPSs, and the APIs are completely open and unsecured.
Yeah.
So just be careful. It might be better to run it on your own system in a container or on a separate, because it will control your whole computer. So don't let it on your personal computer. If you put it on a VPS and you connect it to all your stuff, just make sure you think about the security of that. You should understand what it's doing, and you'll need to make sure you kind of like lock it down in the right ways. And if not, that's why maybe a separate device. I think you can run it on like a Raspberry Pi or something as well. It doesn't have to be a Mac Mini.
I think Railway has a cloud template, so if you want to just deploy to Railway with a click or something, and there's a AWS thing.
Yeah, just understand the security implications of, not only giving it your access, but because there's APIs that you can like reach in and talk to your ClawdBot, right? So you understand what those are. But I haven't tried it out yet. Some people on our team have tried it out. It's a pretty nice onboarding experience. I think he did a really good job. So I'm anxious.
44,000 stars too. So,
dang, in like 2 weeks probably.
Yeah. Beast. Beast.
Go give him a star on GitHub.
And it's completely free. Like, this is true open source. It's like maybe he'll try to ask you for some handout later, but right now, true open source.
So I thought this was pretty interesting.
Well, yeah, I saw this tweet.
So it's changing topics. Last month, 48% of all docs visitors across all sites powered by Mentlify are from AI agents. So this means we're like a month from it, maybe not even a month. We're like a week. This is a couple days old. This is like over a week old now. This is probably now over 50%, which means that you're actually building docs for agents, not because they're good, because human visitors are in the minority. It's kind of interesting to think that docs is the first thing to go that is like publicly, I've seen this, but websites in general, probably the same way. Like booking sites, eventually you're gonna like booking your travel. Are people actually gonna do that? Or is it just gonna be an agent that does that? Whether that's through the site or through an API? I just think you need to think of the world where you're not building software for just humans. Like maybe you still are at this point, but it's kind of like it reminds me when I was building sites where there's like a trend before we went to desktop to mobile.
Yeah.
And at one point you just always built the desktop and you didn't really care about the mobile. Mobile was an afterthought. Then it became like 50-50. And then eventually it became, especially for some sites, mobile first, right? You had to think about the mobile because that was going to get 70 or 80% of the traffic. And I think if you went through that period, this is going to feel the same, but instead of like aspect ratios of websites, it is who is actually going to be consuming that content.
LLM first.
Yeah. So yeah, be prepared for that. I just thought that was very interesting.
We had a discussion this morning about what does top of funnel look like nowadays, right? If docs are, let's say people hear about Mastra from Google search, sure, or Claude telling them about us, or Gemini, etc. But then once the coding agent actually needs to do work, it's going to use your docs, and if they're not formatted in a way or easily accessible in a way for it to pull it into context and make moves, then you're going to be screwed, you know? Now with skills, I mean, we had the MCP doc server. That's a good start. And then everyone, I think like the history of this, right? Once we did MCP doc server, everyone started having doc servers, but they didn't change the content. They were just exposing the content through their doc server. Then Mintlify had this cool feature where every file in the Mintlify repo is a .md, so it doesn't have to look at the CSS bullshit version. It can look at just the MD file version. Then now you have skills that teach agents how to retrieve information and through reference files and etc. But then again, the docs content really has not changed. People aren't writing new docs just specifically for LLMs. And I kind of think that's the next frontier, where we actually have like the human readable docs are all cute and fun and look good, but the actual docs are like just like this barren wasteland of like bullet points. Like, this is what you do, you freaking idiot. Like, this is what you do.
Yeah.
And it's just packaged up for that.
Yeah, it's almost like, very token dense, context dense representation of the human readable docs, right? I think it's ideally an LLM was trained on human data. It should be able to read things the same way as a human can, but it can also, it's almost like the reason that there's a lot of extra fluff in docs is to help aid with like comprehension, right? Explain it to you in a way. But if you think about it, sometimes it's just better if someone just gives you the step-by-step, copy this in, do this, do that, with maybe a very dense description of why. And for me, I might not be smart enough to understand why, like all the things around it. So I need the extra tokens, right? But maybe the LLM doesn't. And I don't know that we know that yet, exactly like how dense is too dense.
Yeah.
But I would imagine there might be like a different version in the future of docs, one for humans, one for LLMs.
Like if many of y'all if you haven't noticed, or maybe you will notice soon, if you install Mastra v1 and go into the node modules of your project and go to, let's say, Mastra core, you'll find a docs folder in the dist. And that's because Opus really likes grepping things, especially in node modules. So what we did is we left some Easter eggs around our packages that if Claude greps it, then it can now like search for context. We also added a skill in the Mastra./AI skills repository, which teaches your coding agent how to traverse our documentation node modules. But the problem, though, is we didn't rewrite the docs for an LLM. It's still the same content derivation process. And now we're kind of thinking and trying to decide, do we need to rewrite all of that to be different? We'll let y'all know how it goes.
And kind of on that topic, we've been talking about skills. We've been talking about how to get AI agents, first of all, to like understand and read your stuff. I don't know how they did it, but if you talk to Claude and you want to deploy anywhere, it always talks about Railway. So congrats to Railway for
good job,
whatever GEO, AIEO, AEO, whatever you're calling it, that they did. Or maybe they just, they had it the right docs, the right time. But I've never used Railway before. Now I get recommended to use Railway all the time by Claude, and I use it, and it's good.
Yeah.
So congrats to them. They also just raised 100 million, probably backed by the growth of Claude recommending.
Thank you, Claude.
Yeah, they're probably saying like this is, this was a lot of Claude and probably Codex as well and others, but definitely Claude recommend Railway a lot. But on the other topic of skills is the other thing that we talked about it last week. I bet we're gonna be talking about it. I think last year we talked, is skills the new MCP?
Yeah.
And I think it's becoming clear that it is.
Yeah.
And it might even end up being bigger than MCP. So let's talk a little bit about the one that I saw blow up this week, because you need good examples of like why are skills important? Well, Remotion has an agent skill, and you can make videos with Claude Code. Like, look, check out this video that it made. It's only 8 seconds, but Claude Code made that video. So I've actually used Remotion once or twice in the past, and it's kind of painful. It's tedious. Like you're like telling it in syntax when you want things to come in, how long, and there's an editor, of course, but it was just kind of tedious. It's nice that it was all kind of just in code. You could just build a video in code and export it as an MP3 or MP4 file, but still, it was just a lot of work. And now Claude can just do this automatically. You just give it the skill and it will go ahead and do it. So this was an example built. Make this full screen here. But I thought this was pretty cool.
With transparent background.
Any file format.
So I don't even know what that service does, but that's a pretty cool video that they threw together just using, Claude Code. So then I have one here that I wanted to share as well. So I said I want to try this thing and at least see what it does, see if I can generate something. I spent about 15 minutes. Doesn't have any audio, but I did actually add audio.
I like this song. This is part of our Suno battle.
Yeah, this is my part. I clipped part of the Suno song. So you can see,
Mastra 1.0. Turn it.
It's not bad. It took me about 15 minutes to make that. And again, it's not, if I showed this to our designer, he would freak out because you cannot post that for many reasons that I don't understand. But yeah, it's pretty impressive that you could build something like that in 15 minutes. And the thing is, I actually could do it faster now because you learned that how to prompt it, how to do it. So that was a big skill that was released this week. There's some more though. HeyGen created a skill. If you haven't went to the skills.sh site, that's where a lot of these skills live. That's kind of the new, released by Vercel, the new way to get your skill out in front of people, almost the NPM for skills. Browser use CLI plus skill. I think you commented on this.
Yeah.
So you must.
Really.
Do you try it?
Mm-hmm. So now, it's exactly what Gregor was saying. Now you could just tell it, hey, go look at the UI, take a screenshot, and keep going until it's pretty. So I told Marvin, hey, start looking into this for our end-to-end testing and just front-end skills. For example, to do front-end well, you need to have a feedback loop with looking at something visually. So that this will help you do that. So it's pretty sick. Good job, browser use.
There was a post, I'll just share it really quickly. So skills are great, but you got to be careful, just like anything else. I think people, some people don't always think about the security of some of this stuff. I know I don't always. I'm just thinking about what can I do with it.
I know I never think about it.
I know. So, but we need to, or you should at least, be somewhat thoughtful. So the problem, this person was basically saw that and it was hallucinating some npx commands, and then he went and he claimed that npm package, and now he's getting real traffic from this. It's called React Code Shift. Now he claimed the package, and you can see every day is getting agents that are just trying to download this fake package that he made, and he could have put anything you want there, right? And so the agents are making mistakes, and it's kind of like the blind leading the blind, right? It's like it hallucinates, and then once it hallucinates, it starts using it, and then for agents down the loop think it's real, so it will use it, and just something to be careful of. I do imagine that a lot of this stuff in these security things that will get better over time, but do have to be a little cautious. Hashim did say here, which Copilot apparently wrecked Render, so maybe Copilot likes Render and Claude Code likes Railway. And then on Friday, also Hashim says on Friday night, Playwright released a new CLI plus skills, probably inspired by agent browser and browser use. You are probably right. So it is getting very popular for people to be releasing skills, just like it was very popular about this time last year, maybe February-ish, for everyone to have an MCP server. So I think we can safely say that skills is the new MCP in hype. Like they do different things. So I don't want to say, I don't want David Kramer coming on here to yell at me. But you're welcome to come on, David, if you want to. He wants to talk about it. But they are not the same thing. So read his post. But there's definitely an overlap between the two, right? And I think the hype of agent skills has kind of reached the levels of hype that MCP really reached last year. All right, so we're just gonna hammer through these because we're running out of time. So we're gonna do rapid fire. We're not gonna share screens. This is the the rapid fire news segment. So GitHub released Copilot SDK. Cool.
Sick.
Cursor released parallel subagents. Also released skill support. So you can use skills within Cursor, which is not surprised, but kind of leads into what we were just saying about there's a lot of hype. Anthropic released what they're like a new constitution for Claude. So Claude has its own constitution. Anthropic's always doing these kind of like trust and safety type things to try to make, try to like ease your fears about these models, but also try to like guide Claude in the right ways. So I do like seeing that, but if you want to read it, it's out there. You want to hit some of these next ones?
Yep. So Claude Code, to-dos, the classic Claude to-do is becoming a task, which is really interesting because we were previously last week talking about how, and even in our emerging primitives discussion, like tasks are going to be a primitive. We will have them in Mastra for sure. And then also swarms are coming. Anthropic's going to do swarms. Multi-agent is here. So it's going to be quite interesting. And then lastly, you can use Claude in Excel. So if you're trying to do that type of stuff, good for you. You should do it because now you can use it there.
In other news, let's go to some things with Google, and this one has Apple involved. Maybe it's an Apple news item. So according to TechCrunch, Apple will reportedly unveil its Gemini-powered Siri in February. So that's good. It's been a long time coming. I saw, I think it was Robert Scoble made a post that Apple should buy ClawdBot, and then someone posted, Apple could build ClawdBot in a day. And then I responded, have you seen, I responded, it was basically, what has Apple shipped like in a day? Apple will never ship anything in a day, let alone, they can't even fix Siri. So they had to buy license Gemini, right? But I think it's been a long time coming. I'm excited about this because I think Gemini is way better than what Siri was. And so it will actually, I think they should have done this a long time ago, but I'm sure, privacy, security, all these reasons they didn't, but now it is, it's coming.
Siri will become the new ClawdBot. It's a Tamagotchi in your pocket,
Yeah, and everyone has one.
Yeah. Plus with Google Studio, you could do some wild stuff from your phone. Very interesting.
Yeah, and then what's interesting is then every Android device will probably have it, some version of Gemini as well. So Google is winning here because almost everyone has either an Android or an iPhone, and Google's gonna have all of it. Google has been doing a lot with education. They have Gemini has practice exams for standardized tests that they released. They also they partnered or at least teamed up with Khan Academy to have like a writing coach for students. So they're trying to make Gemini like more for education, which I think Google's always been trying to get into education. They have Chromebooks, which are used in a lot of schools and a lot of things around the education space. So they're doing it with AI as well. Apparently in OpenAI, I saw you're going to be able to make purchases in OpenAI, and apparently ChatGPT is going to take 4% of every sale. What do you think about that?
That is ridiculous, dude. That is ridiculous.
I mean, but to be fair, credit cards take 1%. Why,
Sure.
why can't OpenAI? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but there's a little discussion going on. It's based on the commerce protocol that they announced, right? And it teamed up with Shopify, but basically they're preparing for you because, OpenAI does have those 800 million users. What if they didn't have to leave OpenAI or ChatGPT to just make purchases, right? And they took a cut of that. They released ads.
Isn't the app stores, like Apple App Store takes like 30%, right?
Yeah.
So I guess it's not that bad.
Yeah, the App Store, but this is for buying products.
Yeah.
So,
Like physical goods too.
physical goods. It's not just you're downloading an app and paying for digital goods. No one could actually sell real products through the App Store because no one has 30% margins, which I think that's actually changing. There's some, but as of now, it's 30%, I think. All right, let's pound through some of this last news. All right, so we got some cool tools. We like to just see what people are doing. So we want to show some pretty cool tools that we saw this week. The first one is this tool called Figma Connect. Turn your Figma designs into code. I think it's uses this tool called Magic Path. I haven't tried it, but it looks pretty cool. The next one is this is it. This is similar to you talking about 3D models in Blender. It's basically called Viga maybe. I don't know how you pronounce it, but basically it thinks in Blender code, so it can render 3D worlds. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, what I learned from my experiment is you do want something like Blender, because when you're making 3D models, there are things called materials and meshes. This is all I learned. Today I learned about 3D modeling. And Blender, what's really cool is you can do segmentation in Blender, which takes a model and turns it into layers. So that's how you can just color the wheels on a model or change the paint color. You have to make sure that it has layers. So what people typically do is they generate a 3D model, then use Blender to do segmentation, and then now you can make it move and all that stuff for video games and stuff. But if you could just use Blender straight up, which I'm gonna go back to my previous project and try it, that would be the best. So that's awesome.
And this thing was pretty cool. It's from Krea AI, introducing real-time edit.
That's sick.
So now, like with Nano Banana, you can edit images with complex instructions in real time. So it's like mimicking, but also you can change it. It's just wild, the things that you can do.
Dude, we need to do a whole episode where we are the clay version. And that's what people see.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty crazy.
We can do a segment.
Yeah,
we should do a segment on cool tools or something. We'll do some more cool tools and to be a segment on just how to make us look like, we're Lego men or something. Block figures. Can't say Lego.
Yeah, producer Jan,
Yeah.
Take a look at that.
Let's figure that out, producer Jan. All right, so we got a bunch of models. I'm just going to read these off. We're not going to go through the benchmarks. If you're interested in these kind of models, you should check them out. There's a whole bunch of text-to-speech models that were released. Qwen 3 text-to-speech was one of them. I think Personaplex 7B from NVIDIA was another one. So, and there was a bunch more released just in the last week. So text-to-speech is getting very competitive, especially with smaller models that you can run yourself. So that's pretty cool.
And ClawdBot just added TTS capability. So
there you go. Qwen 3 Max Thinking, I think, came out today. It's not open weights, but it does benchmark really well. And Qwen, I think, sometimes has a history of releasing the weights later, so maybe they will. But it benchmarks pretty well against some of the other larger models, so good for them. This one I found, I don't know if this is interesting or disturbing, but it makes sense.
Oh, this thing.
Yeah. So this one's called Minimax M2-Her. Optimized for role play. Okay.
Optimized for sexting.
Yeah, more immersion, better characters, longer coherence. That's exactly what I mean, they didn't want to say it, but that's what they optimized this thing for, right? Is like companionship, we'll call
Yeah.
it. This is a companionship model. But I think I did see a post from Swix or something that a high percentage of use cases was for companions. So, I think that's a use case that a lot of people, it's why so many people were mad that GPT-4o was getting, basically deprecated and going to be gone because people built up relationships with GPT-4o.
Yeah, someone probably tried to get married to their chat,
Yeah.
which is disturbing, actually.
Yeah. And Runway released called Gen 4 or 5. It's an image to video model. It's pretty good from the looks of it, but take a look if you're interested in image to video models. All right. The last segment or part of the segment of the day, sub-segment maybe. We always like to talk about some GitHub projects that just popped up on our radar, and we're going to do a star party. So we're going to go give
Star
some
party.
people, give some open source repos some stars. So if you're following along, go to GitHub, search these out, and let's give them a star. So the first one, this is one that I get one, and then Abhi has one over here. I saw this agentation thing, which is it's a visual feedback tool for agents. And I think we'll go to the website and we can actually see the demo here. But let's give it a star. I click the star right now. It's an agent agnostic visual feedback tool. So you click elements on the page, add notes, and then it'll copy structured output that helps coding agents find where you're actually looking. So if we go to this, I need to share the right screen. And we take a look. You can actually see, if I'm hovering over, this was working earlier.
It's working right here.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not working on here. Well, anyways.
Reminds me of Feature Peak from
Yeah,
Netlify.
It's kind of like that. Yeah, I'm not seeing it, but earlier, maybe it's because I'm sharing this, but basically you can see it here. It would highlight the section you're on, and then it gives you basically what you can copy in, and it'll tell you where it's actually at. But it's kind of a nice little visual way for you to just grab sections and elements, and then you don't have to try to explain. I always say like the primary or the button that says this, you know, and this allows you to at least do that, close that feedback loop a little more quickly.
Dude, I'm gonna use this ASAP.
So if you're doing UI stuff, it might be worth checking out. And lastly, one more project. This project is called
This is called Get Shit Done, GSD. And
we call it making moves around here, but get shit done. I like that too.
I like it. And I just started using this. You, John, is using this right now too. We've been talking about task decomposition for many weeks now. We have our own. Everyone has their own way of doing it. Turns out this GSD methodology is very similar to what Shane and I have been doing. It just puts it on Rails for you. It gives you the right feedback loops, and you're just literally doing the same task decomposition stuff. But the reason why it's so good is, one, it really resonates with me because that's how we were thinking about it too. You start with ideas, then you discuss requirements, and then requirements go into plans, and plans have tasks, and tasks have information in them, and then you just send your army of agents to just tackle this problem. That's what's been going down the whole show. I actually have GSD running on some wild stuff. More to come to Mastra, of course. Try it out. I don't think it's good for everything. I think it's good for these new things in your code base that you need to do. But GSD also has quick mode where you can use it for one-off non-heavy planning. This guy definitely thought about it very, very deeply, and he just put it all there. It's a collection of commands. So you'll do npx, you'll add it, it'll store it in the global Claude or OpenCode if you're using it. And then boom, now you have all these commands to just go through the process of breaking down ideas into actionable steps that your army of agents can go do. And dude, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, I've been so in the past, like this seems like a while ago, it was probably 2 weeks ago, I was running a lot of Ralph loops overnight. But what I realized is eventually, I get all the features that I need 80% done, and then there's the task of going from 80% to 100%. And so you can't just let that thing run. So it's a different kind of like mind space. But I think for larger tasks, something like this makes a lot of sense where you want to start a new feature. You maybe don't fully understand how you're going to do it. From the docs, it looks like it kind of drills you with questions. So it
Yeah.
makes sure you get really detailed on what you want. So you actually have to take the time. I think it's a forcing function. You have to take the time to really think about
Yeah.
it before you just like send it off. And then because you thought about it more, the results are going to be closer to what you actually wanted. So I'm excited to try it when I actually get back to some like larger features.
Yeah.
For now, I'm trying to just wrap up all the features, all the 7 different big features I'm trying to work on all simultaneously, which requires a little more like hands-on tweaking, but I'm excited to give that thing a go.
Yeah, like Tony's using it right now as well on a loop, but the problem was you still have to put a lot of effort at the start, because I think it did a deep research in the wrong. It did the wrong deep research on what he was trying to do, and so when he got his plan, and good thing he didn't spend tokens writing any code yet. He got the plan and he was like, "This is wrong," and then it had to go and re-loop, and then, but then now once you get all those tasks, you're good to go. So try it out. Let us know if you like it.
All right, everyone, that's the show for today. Thanks for sticking with us as we try out this new streaming platform. Hopefully it went well. I think we learned some things. We're learning where all the buttons are that we were used to, and we're trying to figure out, how to up the level of production value. Please go like us on YouTube, just Mastra-AI. Please find the show on Spotify. Give us a rating, subscribe. Go to Apple Podcasts, all the places, right? You can find the show pretty much everywhere. We'll be back again. We do this almost every week on Mondays. Sometimes we move the date, but it's almost always Mondays, right around noon Pacific. And that's it. Any parting wisdom?
Peace. Use GSD, use multi-agents, try VO3, try Suno, go play with AI stuff, have fun. We're having fun. And we'll Suno battle you whenever you want.
Let's do it. See ya.
Peace.
Yo, that show's a wrap. We were live in the zone. AI agents out with Shane and Abby on the throne. Did you give us that review? Only if it's a 5. Jump on the tube, make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Get so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. Did you just drop in? Is this your first time? Make sure to follow us on X and go like and subscribe. Yeah, learn the principles and patterns in our books. The Mastra.ai site, give it a look. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Guests so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. This is the end, we all wrapped up. Another showdown, another one coming up. AI Agents Hour's done, but the news doesn't cease. Shane and Abby, we out of here. Peace.